Hello there, welcome to the Torch channel. Today let us talk about the stages of reading development. We have three objectives. The first is to recognize reading development, its stages and factors affecting it, to describe the stages of reading development, and lastly to create appropriate interventions to develop reading skills. Before we proceed, let us have a short quiz. All you have to do is to answer true or false. Let us check. An independent reader chooses relevant books for an intended purpose. It is true. Novice readers begin to memorize common sight words. It's true. Children in the first stage of reading development are becoming more fluent. It's false. Reading development can be broken into two major stages. It's true. Children move through different stages of reading development at their own pace. It is true. Now let's have a deeper understanding of these following words. It is the ability to read words, phrases, sentences, and stories correctly with enough speed and expression. It is fluency. Correct. It is knowing what words mean and how to say and use them correctly. It is vocabulary. It refers to the process of identifying the words in print. It is word recognition. It is a group of two successive letters whose phonetic value is a single sound. Example, EA in bread and CH in shed. So it is the act or process of growing or causing something to grow or become larger or more advanced. It is development. Now let's have a short discussion of what reading is. Reading is the process of looking at a series of written symbols and getting meaning from them. Meaning, the reader here is a consumer. He reads because he wants to gain something. But reading is a complex process. It is a productive skill in that we are both receiving information and transmitting it, even if only to ourselves. Now let's talk about the benefits of reading. Memory improvement. When you read a book, you have to remember an assortment of characters, their backgrounds, ambitions, history, and nuances, as well as the various arcs and subplots that weave their way through every story. That's a fair bit to remember, but brains are marvelous things and can remember the things with relative ease. Vocabulary expansion. The more you read, the more words you gain exposure to, and they'll inevitably make their way into your everyday vocabulary. Mental stimulation. Studies have shown that staying mentally stimulated can slow the progress of Alzheimer's and dementia, since keeping your brain active and engaged prevents it from losing power. Stress reduction. No matter how much stress you have at work, in your personal relationships, or countless other issues faced in daily life, it all just slips away when you lose yourself in a great story. A well-written novel can transport you to other realms, while an engaging article will distract you and keep you in the present moment, letting tension strain away and allowing you to relax. Knowledge. Everything you read fills your head with new bits of information, and you never know when it might come in handy. The more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to tackle any challenge you'll ever face. Better writing skills. This goes hand in hand with the expansion of your vocabulary. Exposure to published, well-written work has a noted effect on one's own writing, as observing the cadence, fluidity, and writing styles of other authors will invariably influence your own work. Stronger analytical things. Have you ever read an amazing mystery novel and solved the mystery yourself before finishing the book? If so, you were able to put critical and analytical thinking to work by taking note of all the details provided and sorting them out to determine who to not. Improved focus. In our internet-crazed world, attention is drawn in a million different directions at once as we multitask through every day. In a single 5-minute span, the average person will divide their time between working on a task, checking email, chatting with a couple of people, keeping an eye on Twitter, monitoring their smartphone, and interacting with coworkers. This type of ADD behavior causes stress levels to rise and lowers our productivity. When you read a book, all of your attention is focused on the story. The rest of the world just falls away, and you can immerse yourself in every fine detail you're observing. Now let's talk about the stages of reading development. How do children typically develop in reading? Stages of reading development. There are 5 stages of reading development. Stage 1, Emergent Readers. Stage 2, Novice Readers. Stage 3, Progressive Readers. Stage 4, Transitional Readers. Stage 5 is in. Now let's talk about Emergent Reader, typically between 6 months to 6 years old. First and most important stage. Children show an interest in reading and voluntarily pick up a book. They need exposure to quality and entertaining literature. Our job is to encourage this interest and develop it into a love of books and reading. What are the characteristics of Emergent Reader? Understanding print as meaning, familiar with handling books, commenting on illustrations with guidance, starting to recognize letter names and sounds, starting to rhyme, pretending to read a story, relating a story to their own experiences, and having a good grasp of oral language. What are the strategies for Emergent Reader? Read aloud dynamic and exciting books. Read nursery rhymes and poetry with repetitive text. Go on a picture walk before reading to understand the structure of the story. Ask questions about the story and model how to answer them. Encourage children to make connections to the story. Remind them of related events that happened to them. Model how to predict by offering your own suggestions. And point out important events and illustrations and make connections back to the text. Emergent Reader. This stage is the foundation for all other stages and it should be fun. The goal is to help children love reading so they don't see it. Let's talk about the Novice Reader, typically between 6 to 7 years old. Children become more involved in the reading process. Their self-confidence grows as they feel like a reader. What are the characteristics of Novice Readers? Starting to memorize a story, beginning to memorize common sight words, making connections between sounds and print, using the illustrations to tell the story, starting to predict unknown words using visual cues, combining strategies to read unknown text, and starting to predict unknown words using visual cues. What are the strategies for novice readers? Continue to read aloud stories to children, model how to question, predict, and comprehend, introduce new vocabulary and context, read the environment when shopping, point out signs and labels, focus on letters on their own name and other meaningful words. Now let's go to stage 3, which is the progressive reader, typically between 7 to 9 years old. Children are becoming fluent as they enter this stage. They are using various reading strategies in combination, including to self-correct and read for meaning. The characteristics of progressive reader are understand text as meaning, use illustrations as part of self-monitoring, understand how to tell a story, use comprehension and prediction strategies, use multiple strategies to increase their reading fluency, and make educated guesses when predicting, adapting their predictions as needed. What are the strategies for this stage? Prefixes, affixes, and root words describe the elements of a story, setting characters, problem solution, and plot. Identify and summarize sequence of events in a story. Make inferences by using clues from the text and prior knowledge. Compare and contrast information and vocabulary. Now let's go to stage 4, which is transitional reader, typically between 9 to 16 years old. Children are reading more fluently and accurately in this stage, though they may still need help with more. Here are the characteristics of transitional readers. Recognize an increasing number of words. Read with improved fluency and speed. Use multiple reading strategies and have increased comprehension. Choose books to learn about subjects of interest. Understand how to read with expression using punctuation marks. Read unknown words using knowledge of phonemes and diagram. Use illustrations and text to self-monitor and Here are the strategies for this stage. Compare and contrast information from different texts. Summarize sequence of events in a story. Determine a tone, mood, and purpose of author. Vocabulary expansion. Use evidence from the text to support analysis of the text. Understand simile, metaphor, and other descriptive devices. Compare and contrast. So the stage 5 is independent readers. It is typically between 16 years old and older. They are consistent and independent in their reading at this stage. They read longer and complex texts. and they choose relevant books for an intended purpose. Characteristics of this stage: confident and independent readers, self-monitoring on a regular basis, reading for purposes including their own interest, reading longer texts, extracting the information they need, expanding their comprehension and vocabulary as they read more complex texts, learning to read between and beyond the lines and analyzing what they have read, reading text from different points of view, aware what they can influence. Here is the chart of the stages of reading development. So you can see the emergent, the novice, the progressive, the transitional, the independent with their characteristics. Reading development can be broken into two major stages. Learning to read. Learning to read involves mastery of the sound-symbol relationship, understanding the alphabetic principle, decoding words, and becoming fluent. However, this does not mean that the child is not reading to learn. The emphasis or the thing is, the child is reading for enjoyment, new vocabulary, understanding the context, and be able to recognize the things around her. And as the child progresses, his cognitive demand of reading shifts from just trying to decipher the sound and symbol relationships into a more complex process, which is the reading to learn. The stages which includes in the learning to read are Emergent Reader and Novice Reader. For reading to learn, we have Progressive, Transitional, and Independent Reader. Now, if those strategies are given to the child and there are still reading problems or reading difficulties that may occur or that occurs, you should look at the factors affecting the reading development. Physical and clinical factors. These include the physical attributes of the learners. Are the learners in good health? Is the child has any impairment in his vision, hearing capacity, feeling discomfort, speech defects, or neurological disorders? This is done to verify the things that make the learner's reading development high or low. The second factor is the predictors of school entry. These factors indicates the readiness of the learners, the social interaction of the child toward others. This also includes the hobby of the child in reading or he or she interests in reading. Also, it refers to the emotional status. Does the learners have any emotional upbringings, considering also the age of the child? And the third one is the acquired knowledge of literacy or the background knowledge of the child. The family-based risk factors. This involves the home's atmosphere in general, the moral support of the parents enough to sustain the needs of the child in acquiring reading development. It also discusses the materials availability that helps the students or a child reading progress, and also the family status. Next is the social-based factors. The social-based factors talk about the learning environment of the child, the places, and the people involved in his or her acquisition and reading proficiency. In these factors, it shows how the teacher's involvement affects the learners. Are they good enough to provide sufficient and effective information, ideas, and are able to give or present proper reading styles, the appropriate of their knowledge to transfer the learners? The community, how they support reading literacy. Do the community provide or conduct projects that will somehow support the reading development of the children to progress with the level up? All of these factors are the common issues and problems we and all the learners faced in developing our reading. Now let's have a group activity. All you have to do is to describe the stages of reading development. Well done! So now let's have a group presentation. For your participation, the early stages of reading development focus on developing sound-symbol relationships, decoding skills, sight word identification, and fluency. Once these skills become automatic, readers have more cognitive resources available for comprehension. As readers progress, they become increasingly more sophisticated in their comprehension skills. Finally, when readers enter the reading to learn stage, they use their critical analytical skills to become producers of new knowledge, and not just consumers. For the workshop, you have to create at least one intervention to develop the reading skills of your current pupils. Now we have our reflection. So this is a very good quote from Jacqueline Kennedy. There are many little ways to enlarge your child's world. Love of books is the best of all. If you want to be updated whenever we have a new video, please hit that notification bell and hit that like button so you can be updated. Thank you so much and see you on our next video.